Okay, so some general information on my exams. Um, Questions, it's really going to be mostly multiple choice, some true and false, matching, fill in the blank, short answer. Um, no, you're not going to see that label. That's more for my if I had you for lab. But it really is going to be multiple choice and true and false, mostly multiple choice. Okay. The final exam are going to be 80 multiple choice. That's no doubt. Okay. Yeah. Spelling counts. Spelling has to count. Um, if you're going into the medical realm, which most of you, if not all of you, are going into, spelling has to count. You know, words like efferent and afferent, one letter difference makes a big difference of what the meaning of that word is. We've gone through a pandemic and we learn words like asymptomatic and symptomatic. If someone's symptomatic, you know there's a different protocol than if someone is asymptomatic. Asymptomatic means not having symptoms. So one letter difference makes a big difference. Even if later on you have to do medications and the doctor orders Aricept and you write Oricept, it sounds the same, Oricept, Aricept. But Aricept is used for Alzheimer's disease. Oricept is using to change the pH in someone's blood. Those are two totally different things. Spelling has to count and has to be legible if there's anything that you have to write. Okay. If you're going to do abbreviations, again, make sure they're proper abbreviations. All right. Like RBC, multiple sclerosis, MS, and so forth. I see so many students putting down like oxygen. Oh, it's oxy. Well, oxy is really an abbreviation for oxytocin. The abbreviation for oxygen is O2. So if you're going to use abbreviations, no problem. Use the proper abbreviations, not an abbreviation that you made up. Okay. So the time allowed for each one of the assessments, the syllabus quiz, there's no time limit. It is due at a certain time, but once it's running, there is no time limit. Lecture exams 1 through 3, you get 75 minutes. The final exam, which is departmental, you get 75 minutes with 80 questions. Each of the lecture quizzes, you get 14 minutes. And the bonus quiz, you can take up to 2 times with 60 questions, you'll get 55 minutes. Okay. Okay. Try to get to the next slide. There we go. All right. So the content of the exams, pretty much it's here. All right. You will see that on page 4 of the course calendar. Okay. So you could see that on there. The other thing that you will see, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit, you will see on page 25, we're going to go back to where we were, but on page 25, you will also see color coded. You will also see what each of the exams and lecture quizzes, what they're going to contain, when they begin, when they end, and yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, so you'll see everything on there. But I'll remind everybody once we a couple days before each of the exams. Okay, and these are again all the exams that you'll be using for ProctorU. Okay, so let's go back to page 20. And once again, this is the discussion boards. So I'm going to spend some time talking about this. All right. This is really the only way we could have some kind of interaction with classmates to classmates and you and I, if I'm going to chime in into these discussion boards. I do more of my discussion with you, email me back and forth, but definitely we're going to have this classmate interaction. If it's not your lab that's going to be in person, this is where you're going to be seeing the interaction happening, at least in a remote setting. All right. There's going to be 2 parts to each discussion board, something we call a primary post, and that's when you create a message, a new message for others to read. And then there's a secondary post, which is really a post that you're going to respond to either someone's primary post or someone else's secondary post. Okay. So you'll see as this happens that this post becomes threaded as one comment leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And that's why this is called a thread, okay, when you have all that happening. All right, so each student must post at least one primary post and one secondary post for each discussion board, okay? So we have 4 different discussion boards, okay? Instructions to open and submit discussion boards. I'm going to use abbreviation DB as discussion board posts. They're in the syllabus, and you will find these in the assessments of the Blackboard, and I showed you where that was. All primary and secondary posts are due by 8 p.m. on those selected dates, and you'll see those dates on page 21 in that box. No partial credit to posts submitted late, no exception. So there's when it's due, it's due. Okay. So discussion board number 1 is kind of the odd one compared to the other 3, and it's pretty easy to do. Not much thinking here. It's really just to introduce yourself. There's required criteria that is found in the discussion board itself or in the syllabus. The primary post is due on day 2, which is that Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 21st. You will also need to create an avatar. And instructions are found in Blackboard itself. The avatar is that face of you. Now, I have to say, when you do this avatar, make sure it's a close-up of your face. I've had students put in their dog only, or they put her and her best friend. And I can't, it's not just me, but your classmates need to know, well, which one is you? And I've also had many situations where they just put a design there of a flower, or the person is so far back next to the Egyptian pyramid. I'm glad you went there, but we can't see you. You look like a little dot. So what I'm requiring is we want a close-up of your face so that we can talk with the person by looking at the person's face that I'm talking to. Okay, so close up of your face, or up to your shoulders kind of thing. All right, but not something so far that we can't make out who you are. Okay. The secondary post for this is due by Wednesday, so it's only a day later. This whole thing is due 1%, is worth 1% of your grade, not due, but 1% of your grade. You'll get 6 points for the primary post, 2 points for the secondary post, and yes, I will check for grammar and spelling. Okay. Each secondary post must have a well thought out comment. You can't just say, sounds interesting. It sounds interesting. I like to hike too. Well, expand a little bit. I mean, you don't want you to be brief. If you're shy in class. You shouldn't be shy, with discussion boards. So speak up a little bit. Put a little paragraph there. Okay. So that's discussion board number 1. Okay, not too demanding on this one. Okay. But then we have discussion boards 2, 3, and 4, which are pretty much doing the same content, but for a different exam. So each of these discussion boards pertain to either lecture exam number 1, 2, or 3. And the required criteria, once again, is found in both the discussion board itself, when you click on it in the assessments of Blackboard, and in the syllabus. Okay. Each of these discussion boards are worth 2% of your grade. Okay. Each of them. So we're looking at 6% right here. Just some highlights of what you need to put in here. The primary post is going to be something that you consider to be a weakness, and you got to be specific about where in endocrinology or wherever lecture exam you have your biggest weakness, and explain something about it, of how much why it's giving you a hard time. And you should also be able to put in the biggest strength you have in the material for lecture exam number 1, for instance. If it's a strength, I've had this with students also, if it's a strength, you should be able to explain that material fairly well, as though you're tutoring it. So be sure when you're picking a strength, you know the material. If there's a mnemonic, add that in there. If there's this other tip or something like that, put it in there. What, if there's a diagram that you drew, well, take a picture of your diagram and embed it into the post. There's ways you could do that. Okay. Describe the topic for each and why it is a weakness or strength. Be specific. Okay. You'll also need to make a multiple choice question with 5 choices for each. All right. Again, everything's explained in the syllabus. The secondary posts, you need to address a classmate's weakness to help them explain the topic better. Be careful not to confuse him or her with others even more. Now, this is where I see some students are having issues with this because of all the I've had with students, and I have to hesitate on this because sometimes students are not understanding this. If you're going to help someone with a weakness, then it should be probably one of your strengths. I've had students would help someone with a weakness by saying, yes, that's a weakness of mine too, and I've had the same problems. That's not helping them. That's probably making them feel more depressed, right? It's like, oh, it's so hard, you can't do it either. But so make sure that you can help that person. You're going to be able to pick from everyone's on there which one is going to be their weakness that you could help them on. Okay. So be sure you can do that. And give some helpful tips. Maybe there's certain mnemonics, maybe there's note cards, maybe there's a diagram that helps you. Okay. You'll also need to answer one of your classmates' questions that remains unanswered, or correct someone else's answers by explaining the answer with a direction to a PowerPoint or textbook or whichever. So you need to answer that. In addition to answering that, you need to explain, as I mentioned to you with the review questions, if you're going to say that B is correct, you have to say why that's correct, and you need to explain why each of the other choices are incorrect. Okay, this is a test-taking strategy for you. This is something, if you could do this here, you'll do it on all your exams, not just for here, but when you go into nursing, radiology, PT, medical school, wherever you're going. It's being able to hone in and really solidify your test-taking skills. You know why this is correct, but you know why each of the others are incorrect. So you got to put that in there too. Okay. Good examples are also found in the syllabus, so you can see what that's all about, at least for the primary posts. On page 23, you'll see good examples there. It's examples from at least A&P-1. Okay. There's also a rubric grading system because it's so subjective the way you write stuff, but I could turn this subjective thing into an objective thing. If you look on page 22, there is a rubric there that I will be grading from, so you can see where the points will be allotted. I also want to mention that there is etiquette here. I've never had this situation yet. I think students might be just afraid of doing things or questioning, should I write this in or not? Etiquette, you just got to be mindful about your comments to your classmates. Avoid rude tones. It's inferred that if you use all capital letters, that you're yelling at them. So do make sure you do that. I have a list of things. If you look on page 24, there's a list of things to just watch out for etiquette. All right. Don't post messages that are irrelevant to the discussion board or the thread. If they're having problems with an action potential, then if you're talking about, let's say, the reproductive system and there's no connection with the action potential, why are you even putting that in there? You're confusing them. Okay. So just make sure you're staying on topic. Okay. And like I said, the list of etiquette guidelines is on page 24. Okay. I have to read this to you. I haven't had a situation with this, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page with this. Students that do not respect fellow classmates will be removed from the course, will fail the course, and will be reported to the chairperson, dean, etc., as this violates the academic code conduct code. I never had to worry about, I would say I worry about it, but I never had to do anything because everybody seemed to be very concise and polite to everybody. So I hope that we will continue that with this semester and all the semesters forwarding. So just a little bit about that. Okay. Again, I will be looking for content, proper spelling, proper grading, grammar will be graded also. Okay, you can see that in the rubric that I told you about. Okay. So what we have over here is how the course is divided. And you will see this on the top of page 26 in a blue box. Okay. I wouldn't be so concerned about the point distribution over here. Okay. This is where you should be spending more time of how things are weighted. This again is only for the lecture portion. Syllabus quiz is worth 1%. The discussion board number 1 is worth 1%. The discussion boards 2, 3, and 4 are 2% each, so there's your 6%. All your quizzes, I dropped the lowest one, is worth 13% in total. The 3 lecture exams are 18% each, making it 54% of your total lecture grade. And the final lecture exam that the department puts together is worth 25% of your grade. Now, do keep in mind that the bonus quiz is also there too, and that can raise all 3 of your lecture exams, not the final, all 3 lecture exams by 2% if you get all the questions correct. Okay, but keep this in mind too. I've had one situation before where a student had a 99% and then she got everything correct. She only got 100% total on that particular exam. You can't give you 101, so it gets capped off at 100%. Okay, and also I want to mention or remind you that lecture is worth 75% of your total grade, whereas lab is worth 25% of your total grade. And remember, you have to have 60% at least in your lecture and 60% at least in your lab to pass the course. Okay. Blackboard, just some highlights about that. Again, you'll find the syllabus there, all announcements. The best way, the only way to contact me is Blackboard Mail. All my PowerPoints are on there, so you can look at that. Discussion boards, you'll be able to do that in all the exams. All my web links to my video lectures are on there, okay? The review questions, very briefly about what I explained. These are highly recommended. Make sure you do them. It is so important that you do them, okay? There is no answer key. Remember, my answers will be found in the PowerPoints or videos. Do the questions at your own pace. And then my suggestion is to meet up, maybe after lab, over coffee, go over the questions. Don't do the questions together, go over the answers together. That should only take about maybe 1 hour to do, let's say 3, maybe 1 or 2 review question sheets. But just go over the questions go over the answers once you do it at your own pace and everybody in your group does it at their own pace. Many benefits. Like I said, it acts like your study guide. Make notes on there, okay? And then reprint them out when you got to take the exam. Then you'll have all your notes on those review questions. It's a good representation of my exam questions and lecture quizzes for that matter. Remember, 20 to 25% of my exams and quizzes will have these review questions verbatim on there. Okay, so it's beneficial for you to do them in so many ways. Okay, not so much about class cancellations. However, for lab, and I don't want to talk too much about lab, but I think this is pretty reciprocal with lab. If there's any class cancellations for lab, weather, power outage, water main break, you will look at the CCM website. You could always call up CCM's phone line, but the best way, I think most of you are familiar with it, you could sign up for Rave, and you could put in your telephone number, your email address, something of that nature, and when something like that happens, you will get a message an umbrella message that they send out to everyone who has this rave thing, and you'll get these notifications quite rapidly. Um, so that's what'll happen. All right. I don't know. I know this is what I would do if I was in person. You have to talk to Professor Cardaci to see what she would do if she cancels class for whatever personal reason. But like me, it's very rare that that would happen. Okay, but they have something set up. Okay, maybe she just email you through Blackboard. I don't know. You have to ask her. Um, Cheating, just don't do it. It's not worth it. I do bring it up pretty high. Just make sure you do what you're supposed to, especially for the proctored exams. They're recorded. I've even had a situation. I don't know how and why she thought she could get away with it, but she actually had someone else, like, she was reading what the question was, and then I could hear someone in the background saying, "Oh no, you already answered that before." Or there was another time the person said, "Oh yeah, that's simple squamous epithelium because you answered that earlier too." Like, and you could hear it. It's like, so just don't do it. Just do what you're supposed to. Make sure you do read through the do's and don'ts. Um, and you'll be fine. You will be fine. Okay. Um, so finally, the last page, some dates for you to remember is March 24th. That's I believe this Friday. Yeah, this Friday, or at least the Friday of the first week of class. That's the last day to drop this course without a grade or for it to be shown on your transcript. So I'll remind everyone as we get closer to that, if that comes to that date. Okay. Also on April 24th is the last day to withdraw from our course. Again, I will give you a heads up maybe 2 or 3 days before and give you some kind of advice on what you may want to do. Okay, so those are little tips on there. All right. And remember, you've heard this saying before: live like you're going to die tomorrow. But my teaching philosophy is learn like you're going to live forever. You're gonna use this stuff even if you change your major. The way I'm gonna teach you how to do test taking strategies or study skills, you're gonna use this later on, and hopefully you'll be able to solidify your own test taking strategies so well that you could pass them along to your own children. Okay, so let me just get back here. Oh, hold on. Stop sharing. There we go. We're back. So I just wanted to again welcome everybody here. We're going to have a great semester. I can sense it. It's going to be challenging because it's such a demanding course, and to do it in such a short amount of time, 7 weeks. But students have done it. Students have done it. So if you have any questions, email me. I'm here for you. I'm one of these people that just don't like to leave anyone hanging and they don't have an answer. I will get back to you, and I'm pretty fast with that. So reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm here for you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you if we do a Zoom session, and just looking forward to it. All right, stay well, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye bye now.